welcome to a crossover episode of Skipper Scott and Analog Scott. We've got some Bodie goodness and we've got some AI goodness going on. And so we're preparing for our trip down the coast to Cabo and points north and points south. And we're getting our little 10290 ready. And it's boating on a budget a bit. But one of the things we got to do is we're getting our boat ready. We got to get an inventory together. So we need to have a bunch of spare parts. We need to have fuel filters. We need to know where our life jackets are. We need to have flares over here. We need to have our spare VHF radio. We just want to know where things are on the boat and our inventory. So to that end, we've got I've got this getting some plastic containers. We've got our label machine going on here, and we're going to start labeling things and going through. But more importantly, just to start with, we need to know what to order, and we got to track it. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use AI to do that. And so we've got a little demo, and this is part of a bigger talk. So if you're a subscriber, coming up on July 15th here in the marina in the San Diego area, we're going to be giving a talk on AI, and this is part of the talk. But we're going to give you this part that talks about the boat. We're going to take AI as it applies to inventory, and we're going to do a prompt, and we're going to apply that prompt to what we're doing with the boat and with Bodie here. Okay, so for our boat prompt, we're going to use a pretty standard inventory prompt. So I'm going to tell the AI I'm creating an inventory for a insert use case here, and I want a spreadsheet. I'm not going to have a huge inventory. I just want a spreadsheet I can use to track inventory. Output in whatever format we want to output in, and ask any questions needed for clarification. That's important, right? And we also want it to recommend additional categories or columns that would be useful. Important columns are, and we're going to give it kind of the baseline of what are the columns that we want. So this is our base inventory prompt. Next, we're going to just take that and we're going to insert kind of our use case in there. And this could be any use case for any small, medium-sized business that wants to do inventory. Maybe, a spreadsheet is not something an enterprise would use for their inventory, but for our hunter, we're going to say, I'm creating an inventory for a 10290 sailboat with a Yanmar 2GM 20F 18 horsepower diesel, and I want a spreadsheet I can use to track inventory. Output in a quoted CSV format. Now, that's going to let us open it in Excel or any other spreadsheet program, make it real portable, ask any questions needed for clarification, recommend additional categories or columns that would be useful. And for me, I put in, I want an item, like a description of the item. What is it? Like a fuel filter, etc. Manufacturer and part number. What's the manufacturer and part number? What's the quantity? Where is it on the boat? So where can I find it if I'm looking at the inventory? And then the categories, right? I want engine oil and fluids. I want engine parts. I want rigging parts. I want electronics parts. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Now we're going to take this prompt and we're going to put it into Claude, and we're using the Claude desktop, and we're going to use the cowork. All right, we're going to do a little demo now, and this is the desktop version of Claude, and we're going to use cowork. And one of the things that this allows us to do in cowork is we can create a folder, and in that folder we can put our new project. So we're going to start from scratch here. We can use an existing folder. We can import a project, but we're going to start from scratch, create a new folder, and we're going to call it Bodie because Bodie's what we're working on. And then we're going to give it some instructions. We're just going to give it a little context to tell us kind of what we're doing in our project. And this will start us off, and you can add any context that applies to the project in this folder. And one of the important things is this is going to eventually create what's called a Claude.md file. And there's other files in there that you can add in the folder that will help give context to whatever you're working on in your project. So this particular project, we're just saying we're going to track inventory and other logs and things for our 2002 Hunter 290 sailboat with a Yanmar 2GM 20F diesel motor. And there's the directory it's going to put in. It's going to create that folder. And so now as we go through and we do our work, it's going to put the files in there as we specify them. So one of the other things in Claude, there are several different models that you can choose. So there's Opus, and that's going to be for your complex task. And we're going to use that one today, but there's also Haiku, and then there's also Sonnet, another model. But you can also specify the effort as well. So you can say, I want a high amount of effort, low amount of effort, medium amount of effort. And we want a high amount of effort. So we're going to do Opus 4.8 for complex tasks, and we're going to put a high amount of effort. And then we're going to take our prompt, our one from our inventory, and we're going to copy that and we're going to paste it in here. And so this has our prompt that we showed before, and we're going to hit that button. We're going to tell it to go now. Let's go and do what we ask it to do. And you can see over here our context over on the right, and then you can see what our instructions are that give us a little extra context. And now it's going to go away and start up. And then over on the right, you can see the progress. And right now it's working on it. And what it's doing right now is it's going and sending things to large language model, and it's going to come back here in just a second and start asking it some questions because we told it to ask any questions it needs for clarification. So first thing it's asking us, and this is a really good one, it's asking us to, do we want to pre-populate common items? So we're going to say yes there. We want to do that. Let's pre-populate those common items from the boat. And then do we want to add these additional categories? So definitely safety and ground tackle, plumbing and sanitation, things I didn't think of, sails and canvas, definitely want that. Galley, spares, and tools. Yeah, all of the above. Add those things in. So those were kind of unknown unknowns that we, are things we should have known, but we didn't. Also, it's asking us what extra columns do we want to add because we told it to add any extra columns. I think I just want reorder and notes. I don't want date or cost or status condition. Just what do we need to reorder and what are the notes for now? We can go back and add the other columns later. And since it's we're in co-work, we can go back later and tell it, and it'll open this file, add the columns if we want. And status condition, just reorder and notes. That's all we need because we can put status and condition in there as well in our notes, or it'll capture it in there. So here's the answers to our questions, and now it's going to go through and it's going to start populating our spreadsheet for us. Now it says it has what it needs. It's pre-populating the quota CSV now with our 4 categories. It's adding that in, sales and canvas. It's gone and it's created a file, and now it's creating the file and it's writing it out character by character, word for word. It's just going through its loop and its large language model loop. What's the next word? What's the next word? And it's going and popping that into our spreadsheet and writing that file out. And you can see up here, it's got progress on the right. And then if you click on Bodhi, there's our Claude.md file. So those are our instructions and our things that we typed in initially. So every time we open this project, it's going to load that Claude.md file. And if we have extra context along the way or other things that we want to tell our large language model, we can go in and edit that Claude.md file. And MD is for Markdown. And so that'll help us organize kind of our thoughts or additional context. And as we develop Bodhi here, we're going to develop that Claude.md because we have this project that we're taking this boat and we're just adding all of these things to this 10290. We've got solar panels next that are coming up. And speaking of which, that's coming up. So be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and we have a talk again coming up on July 15th. So if you're a subscriber, just go ahead and send us an email to ahoy@skipperscott.com and RSVP, and we'll get you in and tell you where we're at, and you can come see the talk that's going to be the extended version of what we're doing here with AI and with boats. But now you can see over here we have our items. It filled in the type of oil that we need. It filled in our Yanmar part numbers, for our transmission fluid, what kind we need. And then if we scroll down and look through the parts, primary fuel filter elements, it's got the, all of the part numbers that we're going to need for alternators, water pumps, belts, zincs, things like that. And then it also has our minimum quantity column. So it tells us how much that we're going to want to have on there. And here's all of our different, we've even first aid kit in there. It's got our, also got our bilge pumps and things of that nature. So anyway, that was our little demo there. And thanks so much for watching. But it's just an example of how you can use AI to do an inventory. In our particular case, we're doing an inventory on a boat. And if you give it a use case and you give it enough context, but not too much, it's going to go figure it out. And it's going to ask you questions that you didn't think of and tell it to prompt you. So that's the important part, is you always have to have a human in the loop to help the AI help you, help the AI help you in a human in the loop process. And remember that you always need to validate things, and confidence is provisional, right? So don't just rely on this 100%. Go through and validate and verify the things that AI is telling you. I'm going to go through next and I'm going to make sure that those are the right part numbers, and I'm going to look those and cross-reference that against my Yanmar engine manual just to make sure that I've got a good inventory. And then once I go through and do that, I'm going to probably have the AI say, now I've got the part numbers in there. I validated the part numbers. Go and create some orders for me to order those part numbers up from my Yanmar dealership. And it can probably even figure out a program to just go do that for me automatically. But tune in again, subscribe, like, comment, analogscott.substack.com, skipperscott.com. You can also check us out at loopta.com, looptah.com. And also Talking to the Machine, wherever you get your podcasts, for lots of AI goodness, and Skipper Scott for our Bodie prep and what we're doing with AI and Bodie computing and 12-volt AI off the grid types of things. So peace, much love. Thank you for watching. From your papa, Analog Scott, Skipper Scott. Ahoy.